Can you go ahead and introduce yourself for everyone?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is PJ McGeary. I'm the owner of Arbor Trail Cleaning Co. I've been running it for about a year now, coming up on my year mark in 1 month, and we're based out of Metro Detroit, Michigan.
Excellent. And you were born and raised in Detroit, or
Very close by. Yep, I grew up in a small city named Redford, just outside of Detroit. I was born and raised here and lived here my whole life. I'm 26 now, and I've never lived out of state.
awesome. And then what were some of your favorite things to do as a kid? Were you a big sports guy? Did you want to do business, or talk a little bit about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. So being that pretty much all of my life was lived in Michigan, I played a lot of sports. So there's big sports teams here. So I was huge Red Wings fan, Michigan fan, Lions fan, which is unfortunate at this point in time, but we're getting better. So sports were a big part of my life growing up. I played baseball, soccer, basketball, and then as I got older, I got into skateboarding in my teenage years. That was fun for a couple of years at that point. And then in high school, picked sports back up and then went to college and continued sports and hanging out with friends, doing things in Michigan like nature. I love being outside, doing things like that. We have Great Lakes here, so a lot of water stuff, things of that sort.
Awesome. I feel you on the sports. I'm a Cubs fan, so
Oh, got it.
big,
Okay.
big
Well,
drought. But we came
yeah,
back, and hopefully, we're doing some good things now. So,
absolutely.
um, when you were younger, did you know what you kind of wanted to be when you grew up, or did you want to be a professional athlete like a lot of young boys are, or did you? I mean, talk
Yeah,
talk a little bit about that.
yeah. When I was younger, I was a nerd in school as far as academics. So I did very well in school. So I always said I wanted to be a doctor or something when I was super young. But then as I got a little bit older, I picked up interest. I started writing police officer on everything. Back when I look back at old stuff that my parents still have. So between like middle school and high school, I always thought about law enforcement. Then high school came around. I started to get more serious as far as career choice and what's going to lead to long-term success. So essentially, I started picking things that were financially secure. So doctor, dentist, all the career type things that society will tell you about. But I never really was dead set on one career path or anything, and it was changing drastically up until about a year ago when I started the business.
Awesome. And then, did you mention is anybody in your family a business owner, parents or relative?
Zero, actually. So I don't have zero business experience in my family. The closest to it would probably be my dad. He has an entrepreneurial spirit. He's constantly thinking about things to do. He does residential remodeling on his own, but he's owner operator. So he doesn't run a company or run a business. So this is brand new for me, but I would argue that that's one of the best ways to learn actually because it forces you to learn from absolutely nothing.
Absolutely, for sure. And then you touched a little bit about school. What's your experience, background? Where did you go to college? Stuff like that.
Yeah. So piggybacking off of being a nerd in high school, I always wanted to go to the best school possible. And being a sports fan, I grew up being a Michigan football fan. So I always wanted to go to U of M. That actually came true. That was a huge stepping stone in my life. So I went to University of Michigan. I studied a lot of things there. Honestly, probably like a lot of college kids do. I bounced around between wanting to go to med school again for the money, then wanting to go dental school. I realized I was just chasing money at that point. So eventually, I tried to pursue more of a passionate route. So I switched to Spanish and criminal justice, actually. So I speak Spanish. I still practice it on the daily. I've used it a couple times in the business, which is awesome. But at U of M, I didn't graduate with Spanish and go into something speaking Spanish. It was more so just an experience. However, college overall, back and forth with what I would recommend to kids that are graduating high school. It was a great experience, and going to a university like that helped me to meet a lot of good friends that are now going to hold some nice positions in the working world. So that's good.
Excellent. So let's talk a little bit about the business. So you started almost a year ago now. Why
Yeah.
did you decide to? Was there a major life event or anything where you were like, you know what, I'm jumping
Yeah.
off the ship, I'm doing it, let's go.
So I was rewind about a year ago or 2 years ago. I took this position with the federal government working in law enforcement. That forced me to actually temporarily go to Georgia for an academy. In that time, I didn't have family or friends that lived in Georgia, so in my off time is when I got exposed to what people would call money Twitter. So just finance guys on Twitter, people that starting their own business. Eventually, I got exposed to starting a house cleaning company. I ended up buying a small 3-page document on how to start your own cleaning business. It was only $75, and essentially that's what changed it all for me. I was like, this sounds relatively easy. There was a blueprint from A to Z, so I copy and pasted that blueprint essentially. Left that position completely. I don't recommend that, but it ended up actually being the biggest blessing behind my story, because it forced my feet under the fire, and that's where we are.
I was going to ask what was kind of the reasoning for jumping off the career path immediately before starting.
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually, after graduating the academy, that's a career type position, if you will. So I left 3 months into it. So everyone there that was older than me was, just calling me a dumb young kid, someone that is they don't have their stuff in order and everything like that. But I realized, while applying for a different federal job that I was interested in, I knew I wanted to start something for myself. There was something in there that I'm leaving this job, and I'm not going to have any payment coming from that job. So while applying for the other one, which was the end goal, I started making the decision. You know what? I'm going to quit completely. And while I have this, overlap of time before the new one would start, I'm going to start a business. Fast forward to today, I've actually been faced with a major decision in my life, where I have that final job offer from the new position that I was looking for. But the business has grown so much and taught me what's possible in life overall, that safe to say, I'm doing this interview because I'm continuing with business.
Excellent. Are you happy? Were you happy when you decided that? I know it's such a basic question, but when you decided to just kick the bucket and just go all in on the business, were you happy with your decision at that point? Like, were you content with everything?
That's arguably the best question to ask, in my opinion. I have come from a place where I was chasing money because I didn't grow up with it. But over the years, in the past 3 years of really maturing and becoming my own person, I've realized that happiness is by far the most important thing. So owning a business has taught me what flexibility with life is, and I no longer need to work around someone else's schedule or a Monday through Friday type day job. And it's the amount of happiness that I have now is incredible. So to answer your question, yes, I'm definitely happy. And making that decision is entirely fulfilling. That's all I can ask for.
Excellent. That's great to hear. So you started what month in 2022? Yeah, 2022. Was it May, June?
So late May, I formed my LLC, and my first cleaning was like June 5th of 2022.
So very quickly after.
Very quick. Yep. Yep.
Were you studying like all of May and like April beforehand before you got everything set?
Yeah. So I left my job in March, and between the middle of March and the launch of the business, it was just complete go mode as far as what I need to do to actually launch this business and to hit the ground running. So that's what allowing me to do so quickly. Quitting the job is what put me in that position to just focus. So I gave myself essentially a 2 month time frame where I was going to knuckle down, focus on starting the business, launching the business, and be personally okay with zero income. So I quit a job, had no side hustle, no side income, nothing. Just made sure, obviously I was going to be able to pay my mortgage and things of that sort. And that was risky, but nothing good in life comes without taking a risk.
Absolutely. So how much did you invest when you first started?
Very minimal. To start this business is extremely minimal, especially in something that's low barrier to entry like house cleaning. Um, the I had to pay for softwares like BookingKoala, Stripe, things of that nature. The LLC was only like $50. Overall, I would say to start the business was between $200 and $300, and that's all in. So it
Wow.
was a low commitment. And then after that, I applied for a business credit card, so I didn't have to use any of my cash. And I was profitable in month one, so I was never in the negative. It wasn't a lot of profit month one, but
Right.
I was never in the hole.
That's amazing. That's great to hear. So you started first booking in June. We're just shy of 11 months now.
Yep.
Rough estimate, what have you done in total revenue since that first booking till today?
Great question. Something that I've been dead set on. Within the first 6 months, I hit 100K in revenue, which I thought was awesome. And I wanted to really push myself and set a semi-aggressive goal by year end to hit 250K in revenue. So $250,000 is what I was telling myself in my head. And as long as we finish out May, which we definitely should, with 28K in revenue, I will hit about $253,000 in revenue for my first year.
PJ, that is amazing. Congratulations. That's something.
Thank
I
you.
mean, I'm a little
Truly.
speechless that you've and you have no partner. It's just you, correct?
Yep. So I'm losing. My hair's turning gray, but in all seriousness, no. I have full control, which is something that I like. It's been a grind, but it's entirely worth it. Just based on where we are and where I'm projecting to be in the next couple of years.
Wow. Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about hiring. Now, or do you have the independent contractor method, or did you go the employee W-2 method?
Yes. So I'm using all contractors at this point.
Okay, awesome. And how many contractors do you currently have?
As of Tuesday or as of yesterday, it's 12. So I'm up to 12 contractors right now.
Excellent. So let's talk a little bit about that. Your hiring funnel.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Where are you posting? Best practices. What are things that didn't work out? Let's go over some of that.
Yeah. Hiring is essential to the business, and that's something that I've, reworked time and time again. I'm still reworking it. I don't think it'll ever stop, um, growing on itself. But I found my most success using Indeed, which some people hate it, some people love it. You get a lot of applicants, but as long as you put up the right questions in your application process, it's very easy to quickly get rid of the applications that are not worthwhile. I've also found Facebook groups to be super helpful as far as hiring. Little quick tip would be to act as a customer in a local Facebook group, ask for recommendations for cleaning, and you will see who's highly recommended in all those comments. So oftentimes in Facebook groups like that, especially in my area, we have 10, 20,000 member Facebook groups, and you will get 30 to 40 responses as to who's reliable, who's top quality, and then from there, that's perfect picking essentially.
That's the first time I've heard somebody go that approach. I've
Mhm.
heard the Facebook groups, but I haven't heard anybody actually test themselves as somebody who's looking for a cleaner, and then because then you could weed out the companies that people are posting. But if it's just an independent person, that's a great way to scoop them up for extra bookings for them as well.
Exactly, and that's something that I did early on. It's a little harder now because I'm using my personal Facebook to introduce myself as the owner in these groups. But early on, I actually found two great subcontractors just doing it that way and pitching to them, what I can offer, and then what they can do for me as well. So
Awesome, amazing. Let's go a little bit towards marketing now. Your what's your funnel look like for marketing? Are you doing paid ads, SEO? What are the strategies?
yeah, my three biggest ones would be Google LSA, so paid ads, Facebook groups, which is all organic outreach and building a brand, and then the third and most recently would be SEO, and I'm starting to see that in combination, especially with SEO, the possibility is endless with this business.
Are you setting like, are you going a third, a third, a third, or what are you using more towards, and where are you kind of starting off with? or are you like equal parts on all?
Yeah, good question. So SEO is just came into play essentially. SEO takes time, and you have to build, that online reputation for that to even work. So to start, LSA was huge. I got lucky. Started at a great time. LSA, as of now, May 2023, the prices are much higher, if not doubled. So a lot of these leads that are coming in are between $35 to $50 per phone call, regardless of whether or not you close them. So it's essentially important to have other marketing avenues. So Facebook outreach, and I knew from the get go I was active on Facebook before I even started the business. That's where a lot of people in your neighborhood go for recommendations. Anyone can use Google to search, but word of mouth and personal recommendations carry a huge weight in today's world. So I started posting content in Facebook groups from day one, even with 5 likes on my Facebook page. Now we're at like 400, 500 followers on Facebook. So just using that alone is a huge marketing share, and it's not paid. It's your time, of course, but it's super quick. You can use the same template. So right now, I'm using all together. I'm still using LSA, but I've capped it as far as how much I want to pay per lead, and then as well as Facebook groups and SEO.
For the SEO, are you running it yourself? Are you trying to learn that, or do you have somebody take care of that for yourself?
Yeah, so I haven't done too deep of a dive into SEO. I believe that I'm going to take some of my marketing budget and start paying someone to do like full scale SEO. But right now, the biggest thing right now working for me is the review count. So focusing on getting reviews is a huge piece of local SEO. So I'm seeing a lot more organic outreach to me over the phone just because of my reviews and having a website with keywords and things of that sort.
Awesome. Um, let's talk about a little bit on your competitors. Have you done research? Have you researched into them, or are you one of the people that are like, you know what, I I know they're there, but I just want to ignore them. I don't care what they're doing.
Yeah, good question. And I'd like to backtrack actually, speaking about competitors. When I first came across this idea of starting a cleaning business on Twitter, I was just like, yeah, sure, I'm going to try it. I did competitor research as far as, adopting a pricing model, but I didn't even regard any competitors in the area. I didn't look at anything. I just said, I'm confident in myself. As long as you're doing something 1% better than your competitors, you're going to get business, especially in a bigger market in a metro area. So I would say for anyone watching this, that's on the cusp or interested in starting a business, if you're confident in yourself, just do it. That's a great way to look at it. And a lot of times there's certain, very small things that you can do 1% better than someone else, like picking up the phone and responding quickly. And before you know it, you'll have a, functioning business. But as far as competitor research goes now, I'm always looking. It's important to make sure that there's nothing else software wise out that someone else might be using that's ahead of you, or just marketing as far as Facebook or how they're putting out promos and things of that nature. So yeah, I'm always looking. And the last thing I'll say about this is a couple days ago I noticed, I guess copying someone is the biggest form of flattery, I guess you can say, or whatever the quote is. But I noticed that someone, and this is a copyright issue essentially, but copied my website in my direct area, word for word, verbatim, on every single page of their website. So that's something that I saw just last week. So I'm be handling that completely separate from all of this.
Wow. I mean, very flattering, but also
Right.
scary and annoying at the same time because you put in all
Definitely.
this work and you're at a place where now somebody's just piggybacking and
Yeah.
trying to steal your stuff.
Right, exactly. So that it is, you're right, it is scary because, all those SEO, the time for SEO that I've put into it, or just using other people's, advice, that sucks. It's definitely scary. And that's just, a piece of what can happen, but it's not worried.
So, what have you seen your competitors do or not do in a sense that you are doing a lot better? Do they have how many have online booking forms? How many are still doing, in-home quotes?
That is by far the easiest differentiator between myself and the other businesses, and that's why uh, Booking Koala has put my business at the top, and that's an easy decision. So many of these other companies are doing free estimates, but they're in home. They require customers to schedule a walkthrough. They require customers to take extra time to book a clean. Whereas using Booking Koala with instant online booking and pricing is a win. It's a win-win for both sides. I can send quotes immediately to customers. Anytime I comment on Facebook, I always include, my name is so and so. This is my company. You can book directly online within 60 seconds. The amount of business I've gotten from that alone is ridiculous.
Now, are you still getting customers calling in just to see? I mean, I don't want to necessarily call it fishing, but like they're worried, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, everything nowadays is online, and I mean, especially with the product market, there's a lot of scams out there. So, do you still get a good amount of people calling just to, I guess, chit chat for a little bit to see if you are who you are and it's not a scam?
Yeah, there's a certain demographic that loves instant world and online booking, but there a couple of the older generations, they do want to put a face to the name or just hear a voice, especially with credit card information going out, on the web. So that's something that I totally welcome because it gives me the opportunity to speak with these customers and to say, we're 100% licensed, insured, everything. We're Google guaranteed. You can look us up. I've even went as far as sending people our business license just to say like, no, this is legitimate. I know it sounds crazy. You can book a cleaning right over the phone instantly with a price, but that's possible now.
Excellent. I'm still wrapping my head around your numbers. What what amount are you getting recurring right away? How long is it taking you to convert those one-time bookings
Yeah.
into a recurring customer?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's obviously the goal because at that point, your business is running on autopilot. So all the one-time cleans that I do, or that we do, I should say, are we're focused heavily on getting those customers to book for recurring cleans. As of right now, typically for the last 3 months, I'm seeing roughly 30K in revenue. I'm working on 16 to 17K in recurring revenue right now, which is a phenomenal baseline for year one. As far as, if I do no more outreach, I will have 16 to 17K in recurring revenue with zero advertising costs to maintain them. So that's a great place to be. I want to continue growing it, of course, and you get ever more hungry, but it's
Absolutely. And with 12 contractors, how booked up are their schedules?
Yeah, so they're not all full time. A lot of the contractors will have their side gigs or cleaning customers that they had before. I have some cleaners that they come out and say, I want as many hours as possible. Book my schedule. If I got a weekend clean, I'll take it. I also have other cleaners that are Monday through Wednesday only. That only want 3 days a week. So those 12, it sounds like a lot, but it's a lot of schedule management at this point. To see what cleaners want full time, what cleaners are only Monday through Wednesday. So it's a mix.
Okay. I'm sure you have a couple horror stories. What have you gotten in terms of, let's do it on the contractor side. Have you gotten anything like last minute or no shows or
Oh,
something like
absolutely.
that?
Absolutely. I have probably the worst nightmare as far as a horror story goes with contractors. So, uh, in the business, unfortunately, low barrier to entry, you're always going to be dealing with call offs, flat tires, things of that nature. Not to say those can't happen, but some of those I've found to be excuses. I've seen fake images sent to me from Google of a flat tire, and I just reverse searched it, and I'm like, wow, I sent it right back to them, like, me too, I have a flat tire, but uh, we'll let that fall where it may. But the worst, story I have with a contractor would be and this is a business mistake of my own to not have a non-compete clause in my contractor agreement. But I found that a cleaner of mine did phenomenal work, but she was taking all the one-time cleans and keeping them for herself for recurring. So I tallied it up, and she took about $6,000 in recurring revenue and customers alone from me over a course of 4 to 5 months.
Oh my
Um,
God.
and that was terrible. It was that moment itself when I actually figured it out was heartbreak. It was tough, but um, baby steps, like everything. So I figured out what to do from there. Reconciled it with the customers and explained, like, if they did want to come back, that we totally welcome that. I'm not sure how she went about coaching them, but it was an immediate fire on the spot, and I'll never work with that cleaner again.
Yeah, it's tough, especially with you realizing not having that non-compete. There's nothing you can do. You just chalk it up as a loss, and
Yep,
uh, it's a learning moment for sure.
exactly.
Going forward, now you have it, and it's.
Yep.
I'm sure every time you hire now, it's very
Mhm.
strictly stated
Yes.
that portion. So you're not, because I mean, 6K revenue recurring every month gone. That's huge.
That's tough, let alone, the dollar amount, but those 6K worth of customers that, go into referrals or telling their family members
Right.
or leaving reviews and stuff like that. That was tough, but exactly what you said is true. It's a learning moment, and I feel like every entrepreneur has a loss that just, it's a long-term gain, essentially, is what it was, and I've never
Absolutely.
lost much from that, so it's all right.
Did you have any customers agree to come back and leave that cleaner, or did they all just stick with her?
I did actually. I had one of them that was upfront about it, and this is why I questioned how she played it off, because they had no clue. They were just it was a busy couple that were mom and dad. They had kids, they worked full time jobs. They didn't really understand what happened. So when he took the time to explain it, I knew right away she was poaching the customers, and he agreed to come back. He wanted the assurance of, yeah, I want to be able to pay online. I want to be able to reschedule online if need be. I want to get automated text messages when you guys are on the way, sent automated invoices after each cleaning, and so forth. So there's a huge pro that a company can offer that an independent cleaner cannot. So I got one back. That's better than zero.
That's true, and it offers security for the customer as well, just in the event of, you know, contractor injury or a theft or
Yep.
damage or anything like that. When you work with a company,
Yep.
you know there's going to be insurance when you Google them. But with
Absolutely.
contractors, they could just come with a business card that just says they
Yeah.
have insurance
Right.
and not really have it. I mean, if the customer is saying I need to see it, then that's different. They're going to have to show it. But
Right.
it's good that you at least got one back there. So
Absolutely.
how much time did you spend in the beginning last year versus how much time are you spending now?
That's a great question. I would say to start the business, I actually had a lot more time. So starting it up, and this is where some people would get confused as to how I was running a business. Starting it up in those first couple months, going from nothing to 10K in revenue, was an easy commitment. To be honest, once I had the website set up and the booking qualify form, it was on autopilot. Only recently have I seen now the need to delegate some of these tasks. And I definitely need help just to focus on more of the higher decisions and hiring, sales, and things of that nature. So right now, I'm definitely busier than I've ever been, but that was by choice. I think focusing, knowing that I'm going to put a lot of time into this business has exponentially paid off, as I'm over 135-star Google reviews in less than a year. So
That's amazing.
selling point there, if I ever do want to exit, is huge, just in SEO benefits alone based on the reviews. And I don't think I would be at that number if I had delegated out follow ups or reviews or things of that nature.
Are you using the internal reviewing and rating system inside Booking Koala for that?
Yes, I am. Yep. And so that's always sent to every customer after once they get their automated invoice right after our cleaning is completed. Booking Koala sends that email, and I've gotten so many ratings instantly in those emails that I know, like, okay, this customer was extremely satisfied. I'm 100% confident in sending them, a Google external link to leave a review for us. So that feature is amazing, and it's almost it's a filter to see, if someone is mad, it gives you an opportunity to rectify the situation before it goes public or before they bash you or something like that. So that internal feature is a godsend.
Excellent. And is this your only business, or do you have anything? I mean, with all the time that you're putting in, I can't imagine you having another one, but do you?
Uh, I do not. But recently, with you know having to decide between taking this W-2 and scaling back in the business or turning the W-2 down, I'm extremely interested now in second avenue, third avenues, with Booking Koala specifically. So I've already been doing competitor research with window washing and things of that nature, just because I've learned the system now for a home service business, and at this point, there's no reason why it can't be replicated elsewhere. Once I get some of my time back, which should be in the next month or two.
Awesome. Um, Future outlook. What are we 5 to 10 years? Where do you see yourself? Where do you see the business? What are you thinking here?
That's a great question, and so hard to answer. I would, I've watched all of the internal Booking Qual interviews as well. I've seen where Philip has took King of Maids, and that's extremely motivating and a big push for me to hold on to my cleaning business, just because of what's possible. So he's a great testament to what you can do if you hold it. But coming from where I come from, without I didn't have any, financial stability behind me or backing me or anything. So an exit strategy, I wouldn't say unfortunately, but an exit strategy has definitely crossed my mind. Just because getting a lump sum of cash at that point would open the doors for several other investments, that I personally don't have access to right now. So um, it's a great question, and I guess I'll have to see, where I can take this. For sure, I'm not going to sell it within the next year. I want 2 full years under me being, the owner of it and controlling where it goes. But 5 year plan. Let's do a follow up interview in 5 years.
Okay. What about a rough estimate for recurring revenue? What are you thinking? What are you hoping? I mean, because if you're about to do 250K in your first year,
Mhm.
I I can't imagine what you could get in 5 years, and let alone 10. What are you ballparking in 5 years?
That's a great question, and again, hard to answer because I never thought I'd get to 10K revenue, but here I am at 30. So there, you get some of that uh, self doubt that pops into your head with like, "There's no way this is possible," but it's the same process. It's hiring quality contractors, it's fulfilling the jobs and getting reviews, and then just repeating it, and putting out the fires that happen, between then. But um, in my head, if I could get to, and this could be a year from now, if I could get to 30K in recurring revenue with solid contractors that are happy, and customers that see the benefit of working with us, that would give me a great base to either continue to grow it rapidly with help, or selling it at that point. With, if you're doing 30K, that's 360 grand a year in recurring revenue. You have no marketing spend essentially, so that's, your margins are only going to continue to creep up and up and up over time. So it's wildly, it's unimaginable to think about where I can take this, but and it's hard to pinpoint. But I definitely, 30K recurring revenue is something that's stuck in my head because I'm at about 15, 16 right now. So if I can double that recurring revenue, that will be at a very nice financial spot with the business.
Are you looking to expand into other metro areas out of state or within state?
Yeah, within state, I actually have a couple, friends now, basically from being in the industry that I know of are in other metro areas in Michigan. But there's no reason why I couldn't take what I've learned, and start something else in a different area in the country. I don't know about franchising things just because with contractors, it's kind of hard. correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of hard to do so. But starting a second location and hiring an ops manager or something of that sort,
Right.
and rinsing and repeating is definitely possible.
Awesome. So now a little bit towards you and the software. How long have you been using Booking Koala? Was it from day one, or were you looking at other softwares in the meantime?
Yeah, the best decision I ever made was picking, and this is zero to do with this interview. This is not a forced count or anything. The best decision I ever made was picking Booking Koala over probably its number one competitor currently, simply based on the fact that there's online booking. So that was the best decision that I ever made, and essentially before starting the business, that was the biggest decision I had to make because you can't start to build things out until you have that CRM in place. And I just switched to Booking Koala mentally about a week before I launched everything. And looking back, yeah, I'm eternally grateful for that decision.
Excellent. And so are we. So what, I guess, what drew you into using us? Was it, I mean, I get a lot of people saying, I'm on Twitter a lot. I see people tweeting out how to start a cleaning service,
Yeah.
their tech stack, stuff like that, and they see us, and that's what caught their eye. Is it same situation for you, or did you find us elsewhere?
Yeah, very similar situation. The first person that I got exposed to on Twitter was actually recommending a competitor, but as the more I dug into everything, some newer faces on Twitter that were essentially blowing up in the house cleaning industry were using Booking Koala. So that's what exposed me to Booking Koala, and I started to look at the differences. And the online booking is everything. Knowing what day and age we live in, people want things instantly, and if it's not 99% of customers that want it instantly, it's 98. So it's
Right.
an easy decision.
I mean, I live in an apartment complex, and some of the neighbors, I'll see go downstairs to get their morning coffee in the shared space, and that's about it. They're getting
Yeah,
DoorDash delivered, their Amazon packages are obscene, and it's like,
exactly. Yeah.
do you have any human interaction at
Right.
this
Yeah.
point? I
Right.
mean, to each their own. I'm very tech oriented, I
Yeah.
guess, and I love any apps that are like that. But
Right.
at the same time, I like to go out with my fiance and
Yeah.
experience things in person. But it's crazy to see the huge generational gap from like our parents, who are the ones that would be calling and
Exactly.
talking your ear off for 15, 20 minutes to see if you're real, versus us, who
Hmm.
are very book now oriented. I I've got a 9 and 12-year-old nephew. I can't even imagine in the next 10 to 15 years where they're going to be at and what they're going to be doing.
No
And
way. Yeah.
it's a little scary. I'm not going to lie. It's a
Yeah.
little scary. So,
It
but
definitely.
we got some time and we're going to adapt with them. Since
Yeah.
we grew up with tech, we're not going to be the old
Ex-
guys that are like, what the
exactly.
hell is this?
Right. I know. As soon as my parents transferred away from an older iPhone to a new one, and there's no home button, that was like
Oh
kiss.
God.
So
I got my mom still on an iPhone 8 Plus, so she's got the home
yeah.
button. We're gonna keep that on as long as we can.
Yeah.
So let's go back and talk about features. So, what are one or two of your favorites that you use? Not necessarily what you use on a daily basis per se personally, but like what are one or two that are just like, wow,
Okay.
outstanding.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, and I've already, hit enough on this, but the online booking form is phenomenal. It's super easy to use, user friendly, and myself. If I'm ever out and about, I can book someone completely on my phone. I actually booked someone through text and Booking Koala on an airplane. It was my first flight ever, and I booked someone while I was on the plane because of free in-flight Wi-Fi on Delta. So that just is a testament to how amazing the online booking software is. So outside of that, there's a couple other features, and I know that's huge, but
Wait, just I have to stop you. You're
yeah,
35,000 feet in the
yes.
air. Where were you flying?
It was my first flight ever. I like control, so I was terrified to fly. My girlfriend finally convinced me to get on a flight. It was from Detroit to Fort Lauderdale, so about 2.5 hour flight. I had in-flight Wi-Fi, and I got a message. I use open phone, so I got a text, someone asking for a cleaning. I sent them the booking link or whatnot, and they booked online. And I saw that come through, assigned it to a cleaner and everything. And at that moment, it was just an absolute light bulb that entrepreneurship and starting your own business is just amazing. I was on a plane and sold someone a house cleaning.
That's that's a first for that's a
Yeah.
first that I've heard. But I mean, people are, could book while you're sleeping. It could
Right.
be in the middle of the night, and uh,
Yep.
your neighbor down the street is awake,
Yeah.
and like they find out they're having family over the next couple days, so they're like, "Crap, I need a booking." It's
Exactly.
That's where we're trying to get with everything, where could, our business owners can be sleeping. I mean, we're already there, right? Or
Yeah.
you
No.
guys could
Exactly.
you guys could be sleeping, and customers are booking online, and it's just it's mind blowing to where we're at with in such a short amount of time. 10 years ago, I mean, even now, there's cleaning services that are still doing in-home estimates, and they're
Yeah.
wasting time,
Yep.
wasting resources. For what reason? Just to narrow down a couple dollars here and there, where
Exactly.
you could just put it in writing that pricing is subject to change. If we show up and we see that it's a hoarder house,
Yep.
not just a standard clean, price is
Exactly.
going to be different. And then if they don't like it, the cleaner could leave,
Yep.
and only that time was wasted, but it's not wasted in a pre-check for
Exactly.
a couple extra dollars here and there. So, any other features besides the booking form?
Yeah, another one recently that I randomly used. I tried to push the gift card feature throughout Christmas, just as
Excellent.
an idea. It wasn't. No one used it so much around Christmas. I think people just get super busy around then or whatever. But I had a customer call in recently and asked if a gift card was a possibility for a happy birthday thing. I had almost forgot where to go in Booking Koala to get it. But I ended up closing it on the phone, sent her an automated link with a personalized message with a happy birthday icon right on the gift card. And that was only like my third or fourth I'd ever sent. But after that call, um, y- of course, I was like, I really need to push this more. That is a great feature, a great house gift. There's so many holidays or just occurrences that you can use that
Right.
and I haven't pushed it, but that's an amazing feature. And the person that the birthday girl, whatever, she booked using the code already, and I saw it come through. Like this is the code for the gift card that she was sent. She scheduled it already, and I was like, wow, that's amazing.
And you kind of kill two birds with one stone, because the person who's buying the gift card is already a customer. They're
Yep.
sending it to a friend or family member. They're essentially using it for free because it's a
Yep.
gift, right? But if they love the service enough, that's a referral in itself. So
100%.
you got yourself a new customer.
Exactly. And every single recurring customer counts. People might not realize it, but 160, 170, $180, every 2 weeks. You do that time, focus on getting one recurring customer and then it will snowball very quickly from there. And on top of that, piggybacking to, like you said, the referrals and using the referral credits in Booking Koala is something that jogged my memory because of this gift card feature. And I was like, wow, I haven't pushed referrals nearly enough. But what people want to save money, of course. Why would they not? And then if they like the service, they're sent, a personalized code to send to a friend for referral credits. And I have it set up where the new customer will get $25 off their first clean, and then the existing customer will get $25 off of their next clean. So it's a win-win, and the lifetime value, blah blah blah, of the new recurring customer guarantees, that you're going to make money.
Absolutely. And then on the flip side with gift cards, the moment somebody buys it, it's free revenue.
Yeah,
It until it gets used, and
right.
sometimes people forget.
Yeah,
I'm I mean, I'll admit I've forgotten. I have,
Yeah,
I think, 2 or 3 gift cards that I have not used, and it's
absolutely.
been almost a year now, and
Yep,
it's just free money. So
yep,
it's great for the business in both senses. If it doesn't get
right,
used, it's money sitting. If it does,
yeah,
you get a new customer and a new referral.
exactly. Yep.
All right. And then, so what's one feature that we have that you can't live without, but I'm going to take away the booking form because
Okay.
I had a feeling that you were going to go there. A lot of people
Yep,
do. Um,
yep.
it's the core of the core of the business, right? And we
Absolutely.
know that it's that. What? Let's hear something a little different. What can you tell everybody watching something
Okay.
that you can't live without?
Okay. So something that you have already, but that
Yeah.
can't. Okay. Good question. Let me think. Let's see. So for me, I would say it kind of plays into the same thing, but I would say that being able to, um, it's similar to online booking, but it's not. It's not the online booking form. So I found that sending quotes through the booking system when people don't want to book, but they're just interested in a quote, it's not. It's not just a piece of paper or a Google Doc that you're sending. Hey, it'll be this much. So Booking Koala internally lets you send formal quotes. You just punch in the information and it generates a professional looking email. At the end of that email, there is a direct option using that quote that was sent to their email or to their phone to book using that link. On top of that, what I found a lot of success with when I do send those quotes, I personally will input a coupon offer or a discount code in those bookings. So I will mention that ahead of time and say, hey, I sent your quote over. By the way, I included a $35. You have to make it enough for them to bat an eye at it. So I included a $35 off your first deep cleaning in that if you book using that quote link that we sent. So that in itself, while they're not intending to book right away, is huge just because of that. So and you can also send reminder emails right away using that quote feature. So you can send a reminder. You just click an icon that says send a reminder letter 3 days after, 5 days after, 7 days after, whatever you want, whatever you prefer in your business.
So you essentially picked two there.
Yep.
The internal, I'm blanking, not the booking form, but the quote, I'm
Oh,
sorry,
quote,
and
right.
and discount codes, right? Because you could set up those discount codes. Now, do you have your discount codes set where you can't stack it and then you could use it on certain days? Do you block out like it could be used Monday through Friday, not Saturday, Sunday?
So I
Or
don't have the only thing that I have requirement for discount codes right now, as they're not like super prevalently used, is you can't use them on a recurring clean. So it has to, or a routine clean. I'm sorry. So it has to either be a first time deep clean or a first time, obviously, move in, move out cleaning. So I'm not letting customers use an initial routine clean booking and then take however much off of that. So we always start with a bigger clean to make sure we are, leaving these customers with as clean of a home as possible to make that lasting impression. So I require a first time deep clean. So I only let them use the codes for those.
excellent. And your extras section on your booking form,
Yeah.
how often do you see customers using that, or how often are you putting in bookings yourself where customers are adding in these extras?
That is the extra section overall. I just recently took, as an entrepreneur, you'll get super busy and your checklist will, be 100 things within before you even know it. So one of the things that I needed to do very badly was to actually update my extra section to reflect how I priced extras. It's the best decision I ever made. So I always had the inside of the oven and the inside of the fridge as an extra that was included. Um, but the way I price windows has made one, my margin shoot up, and two, so much easier for customers to book. So I include windows either with the glass only or the glass and the track. And essentially, I went into Booking Koala. input two separate options for those items and then added just a variable count. So that way, I don't have to follow up with the customer and say, "Oh, I see you booked windows. How many do you want? Do you want windows or tracks?" So I took the time. It only took 20 minutes. Um, Finally got around to it, and now customers can say, "I want 13 windows and tracks added on," and it's so much easier for them and for me, as long as we verify it, of course, and that's super easy. So the extras is a huge piece of things.
That's one thing that's mentioned not as much as you would think.
Mm.
It's just a very basic section that
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of customers be like, "Oh, okay, it's nice to put those
right,
in," and business owners, I feel like it's either one side of the scale or the other. Ones are like, "Yeah, it's there, it's nice, I'll set it up. If it goes, it goes." But the others are like, "Well, no, that's all part of your pricing structure. If you have a basic clean or if you're doing hourly or square footage, that only takes care of that." What happens with the houses who have 3 pets, 2 dogs and a cat? All the extra hair that's going in. Like you said,
exactly.
windows with tracks, blinds, ceiling
Yep,
fans, inside a oven, inside a fridge. That's if you don't have that set up, that's so much missed revenue that you could
exactly.
have had and growing your business where clearly you're doing all the right things if you're on track to close out
Mhm.
the month with what you have and hit $250,000 already in revenue.
Right,
So big things that people don't necessarily, I feel like, take the time
right.
to learn fully. But again, like you said, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner starting out, your head is in a million places with
Yep,
hiring and marketing and taking care of the cleaners when they're on jobs and disgruntled customers and this and that. So it's understandable that things get missed. But what you're doing, having a checklist and being like, okay, I'm set here. What
right,
do I need to take a look at next? And I feel like not enough business owners are doing that. They
right.
kind of just fall into the, I guess, grounded in path,
Yeah. Yeah,
the track that they're stuck in, and they go with the motions so they could be like, okay, if I stay with the motions, then I'm automatically going to grow. Not necessarily.
right,
If you're not
exactly.
making changes, if you're not adapting, how are you going to know that
Right.
you're growing? And how do you know you're not going to get there 10 times faster if you make a slight change? So
100%. And that's what I found with with those extras as well. Not having them there just adds to a bigger headache with customers that say, "Well, I thought in a deep clean the inside of the fridge would always be included." And it's just so much less of a headache on both sides of the coin to have those extras there, so that if people ever say that, you can say, no, you were sent one our automated email, and then two, if they booked online, you saw our extras that explain what they are, and they're not included.
absolutely. And do you have a services page on your website that breaks down kind of bullet pointed each clean?
Yep. So I have a very easy to follow checklist that's tabbable, and it shows exactly what we do in each room. So kitchen, bathrooms, bedrooms, things of that nature in all three of our cleanings. So routine, deep, and move in, move out, and that's so much easier to send customers as well, because if there's something on there that they have a question about, I just send that over. Or if there's an extra, they'll obviously know that right on that services page, hey, these are our extras, and then they can reference those on the booking page as well, and see it at both places.
Excellent. What's one feature that we do not have that you wish we did?
I've wanted to make this interview beneficial for you guys as well, so I did some thinking regarding this, and I was stumped for a while, but I finally thought of something that I think would be definitely beneficial to have, and it would only make the booking online booking form that much faster. So as of right now, when someone calls in or books online or wants a quote, I manually type their address in to Zillow and pull everything up and look at their bedrooms, bathrooms, and square footage. So, with that being said, in integration, somehow, I'm not a coder, that uses Zillow or Redfin or another real estate site that says, plug in your address and you'll get a quote. So, address, quote right away. So, if someone wants instant, like instant pricing without having to click anything, they can see, hey, how much would it be to clean my home? Are you interested? Boom, there it is. Obviously, with new builds or things of that sort, you couldn't, utilize that because you'd have to verify square footage. But for the majority of homes that have already been built, I think that's something just a cool, unique feature. And, however I could push it or something else, just as a gimmick or booking form, something, I think that'd be helpful.
Fantastic feature request. It is something that we do not have, but we will be looking into
Awesome.
adding an integration for it, or potentially building it out ourselves. One thing I just know
Mhm.
that when I was apartment hunting
Mhm.
a few months ago, not every listing shows
Yeah.
square footage,
Yeah.
so it is tough in that sense. But it does, if it does have the square footage and it's
Right.
integrated, then it kind of stops people from lying about their square footage, because
Yeah.
I've heard horror stories of, people saying, well, they told me it was 1,000 square foot house with no basement, and I showed up and it was a bi-level that was 2.5 times the size with a fully furnished basement. So
Exactly.
definitely see a need for it, and we will look at how we can get that added in.
Yeah.
um
But
and
to say the
now,
least, I just as a caveat, I struggled to think of an answer for that. So that is a testament to Booking Walla having everything that you need to successfully run the business. So that was not something that came to mind right away.
excellent. Well, now I know you a little bit earlier in the interview, you kind of touched on this, encouragement for people starting out. You're killing it, dude. I mean,
Seriously, thank you.
it's been an hour, and everything that you've said has been just, you know, and not to knock you, but like you're not doing anything different than anybody else. You're giving great customer service. You're
Yep.
doing SEO, Google LSA. You're not wasting money where it doesn't work.
Right.
It's You're putting in the time. What
Yep.
somebody look or to yourself,
Yeah.
if you could talk to yourself a year ago when you were on the fence, what would you tell yourself?
Just 100% to always bet on yourself. You will have so many people in your life or at your job that will say, that's not the secure route. You're young, you'll learn later, or we'll see you back in 6 months. Just do it. Like, you asked me earlier, are you happy? And that is extremely important. So if you're not happy, there's opportunity out there, and it's endless. It is truly endless what you can do. Starting with almost nothing. Like I said, I put $200 to $300 into the business to get it up and running, and then it paid for itself there on out. It's whether it's house cleaning or window washing or anything home service based or anything that you're interested in, just bet on yourself. Just see what happens. There's always going to be another job out there that you can get. Always. So why not take a risk and see what can happen? Because the upside to betting on yourself is much higher than you can find, not doing so.
Beautifully said. And not enough people say it, that where it's true. You could always go out and get a job tomorrow, whether you like the job or not.
Right.
There's always going to be work for everybody. And if you and entrepreneurship and being a business owner is not for everybody. There are people who are like, that's not for me. I don't want to do it. I could care less.
Right.
So if you already have the itch for it,
Mhm.
scratch the damn thing, just
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
ahead and do it. I mean, I was in college for business, and uh, me and Philip were friends in high school.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
we went to school together, hung out all the time,
Uh,
kind of went our separate ways, and he went to college. He dropped out first year
okay.
and started King of Maids with another friend of ours.
Wow.
I was in my third year at DePaul in Chicago
Okay. Yeah.
when I also decided, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm paying tens of thousands of dollars to go to school, and every single one of my business professors is reading directly from the damn book. The only
Exactly.
one that didn't, or the funny enough, the only one that didn't was the one that should have was my business law professor because everything is in the book, and he was the only one that didn't, and that was the best grade I got in all my classes. Funny enough, but I'm like, this just doesn't make sense. And on top of it all, not one of those professors ever owned their own business. So I'm like, why am I paying all this money to
Yep.
go to school? And I'm not enjoying it. I wasn't happy.
Yep.
What am I learn? I could. The school of YouTube is more informative than university, and I'm not the guy. I feel like people are going to see this and be like, "Well, you're one of those college dropout pushers." By all
Right.
means,
Right.
no, because I'm actually pushing my fiance to go back to medical school to further her
Okay.
degree and get a PhD. So I'm not knocking that. For me, it wasn't like that. I didn't like it. So it's beneficial. I still have student loans to pay off, which is
Okay. Right.
fine,
Yep.
but it's just not for everybody, you know?
Exactly.
So I'm glad that I finally got out of that situation,
Good for
became
you, man.
happy, and then, started
Yeah.
several businesses with Philip, and here we are today. So
Man, you're in
it's
a great spot. So that's another testament, like you said, and that's why I kind of made sure to say earlier as well that I'm not saying that college isn't beneficial, and you
right.
went to school. Michigan's a great school, but at the end of the day, there's only so much you can learn from a textbook or things of that nature. And like you said, my dad pushed business school on me at while I was at Michigan, and I never had an interest in doing the academic route of business school, but business as a whole is extremely interesting. So school is not for everyone, but like you said with your fiance and stuff, there are huge upsides to some schooling and
Absolutely.
stuff like that. So you can create it. Are you happy? That's the end of it.
Always.
Yeah.
Yes. And I am, and that's one thing with college where I learned this, I know this now where I didn't then. I went into the college experience being like, okay, there's school, and then
Yeah.
there's messing around, having fun at parties,
Exactly.
where I could have still learned by networking with other people when I was in class and learning, which I didn't. But again, it takes time to learn things. Nobody's I hate two words that I hate:
Uh-huh.
perfect and normal. There's no such thing as perfect, and there's no such thing as normal because everybody's normal
Absolutely.
baseline is different.
Yep.
Same with perfect. Something that's perfect to one is not perfect to the other.
Right.
Same. I mean, I'm sure you've had that with clients calling in, like, this isn't a perfect clean of my house. And it's like,
Yeah.
to anybody else, it could be, you could eat food off the ground, but
Exactly. Yep.
they're used to a different standard. So, PJ, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure. I mean,
Yes.
you're doing amazing things. I can't wait to talk to you in the next couple of years and see where you're at. Hopefully, you get, what was it, a window wash company
Yeah.
started, and
Something of that sort. Yeah.
something else. Okay, well, maybe 6 months from now, I'll be interviewing you for that business, and
Right.
and and you'll already be, 500,000 in the first 6 months.
Right. But I just want to say, thank you to you, to everyone at Booking Koala again, for the opportunity to interview with you and to learn more from you guys. So it's a pleasure to be doing this interview in itself, and I'm eternally grateful to you guys as well.
Excellent. You are so very welcome, and we will be talking soon.
Sounds good.
All right. Take care.
Yep. You as well.